book, we're going to take up some of those questions. There's a horizontal line through E, which is at -3 and -1. So we have point E right here. They're also telling us this is a horizontal line, which means it runs completely straight along this point. Okay? It crosses point E at -3 and 1. It says write an equation in standard form. So we're going to start off in our, well, we can do either form. We can do point slope form or Y-intercept form, and then we're going to change that into standard form. Okay? Let's do both, just so we're accustomed to doing both. So we'll do both of them. We have our y subtract y1 is equal to m x subtract x1. It's our point slope form. And we also have our y-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay. So let's take a look at this horizontal line. Does anyone know what the slope of a horizontal line will be? 0. So our line slope will be 0. So that means the m in both of these equations, is going to be 0. Okay? So we're going to plug that number in. We're also going to have a point. We can plug the values of that point into both equations. So our point for both equations is our m is equal to 0. We know that. M is 0. And our point E was at -3 and -1. We can plug those in, and then we'll apply our zeros to the questions. Okay. Okay, so we have our point E. Because it's our only point, focus guys, this is going to be our x1 and our y1. So, in our point slope form, our y1 is -1. Our slope is 0. And our x1 is -3. Okay? We can go to equate this question now. Okay? So, first of all, let's deal with the brackets. This becomes y plus 1 is equal to 0. X subtract the -3 is going to be x plus 3. When I go to apply a 0, let's continue this, y plus 1. When I go to distribute a 0, what's going to happen to those numbers inside the brackets? They're going to go away. They're just going to be 0. 0 times x is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. So, 0. I'm already in standard form. Standard form needs one side to be equal to 0. So this question in standard form is y plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to do it in the y-intercept form just so we can see a different version of it. It's going to give you a better idea of what a horizontal line looks like. Okay? So I already have my equation of the very first one. It's y plus 1. If we take a look at our other form, we have our points. We're going to plug them in for y and x, and we're going to solve for our b. Okay? A little different than point slope form, but we can still solve for the b, and we're going to end up at the same answer. So what's going to happen here is our y is going to be -1, so we plug that in for y. Our slope is 0, we know that. Our x is -3 plus b. Okay? We don't know what our b is. So we're going to solve for our b and then go back to our form. So -1 equals 0 times -3 is 0. Look at that. I got my b very quickly. My b is -1. So now that I have my b and I have my slope, I can make an equation of a line in y equals mx plus c. Y equals, slope is 0, x minus 1. What is 0 times x? 0. So y equals negative 1. But I got to put this in standard form. So I'm going to move the negative 1 to the other side of the equation. I'm going to move it to our left here. Y plus 1 equals 0. We got the exact same answer as we did in point slope form. Just maybe 1 or 2 extra steps to this. So, if our y-intercept form, y equals negative 1, is the slope of this line, if I have a vertical line straight up and down, what would my slope y-intercept form look like? X equals whatever the number is. So, for example, I'll go down to C quickly. C gives us point G. I have a vertical line, and point G is 6 and negative 5. I'm going to zoom in just because it's hard to see. Okay, 6 and negative 5. So our 6, negative 5 is down here. Here's our point G. When I go to extend this line, it's a completely vertical line. So my y values, it doesn't matter what they are, my x is always going to be 6. Okay? So if my x is always going to be 6, the equation of our question C, just from deduction, is we're going to have x is equal to 6. And if I got to put that in standard form, what's it going to look like? X minus 6. Standard form, x subtract 6 equals 0. So anytime we have vertical lines, x equals whatever number that is on the x-axis. Anytime we have horizontal lines, y equals whatever number that is on the y-axis. So we could have used the same logic for our e. Remember, our e is on negative 1. So if we have a horizontal line, y equals negative 1, I put it in standard form, y plus 1 equals 0. So instead of actually doing all the work we did down here to solve it, we could have thought logically through this question. Anytime we have horizontal, y equals whatever number the line's on the y-axis. And anytime we have a vertical one, x equals whatever number we're on the x-axis. Okay, that's that.